So, I'm back. We're gonna do another review today. We're gonna do a comic review of The Incredible Hulk Epic Collection Volume 1 Man or Monster. Today, I haven't done a review in a hot minute, so we'll do that. Quick rundown of the book beforehand. It released in 1962 through 1964. It's a very thin book. The main issues that I would like to discuss about is The Incredible Hulk issue 1 through 6, which is an interesting story about that. There's a few other issues like Fantastic Four and the Avengers that are in it, but I will not be discussing that. I will be discussing those issues in their own Epic Collection volumes. But what I'd like to discuss about first is during this time in Marvel, they were basically just throwing anything against the wall to see what sticks. You know, like with Fantastic Four, it was very science fiction oriented. With Spider-Man, it was very teenage character oriented. You know, Captain America, Iron Man, like they were all practicing their own things. But The Incredible Hulk was like its own little thing that they were basically throwing anything against the wall to see what stuck and what didn't. And it was canceled after the sixth issue, you know. And when you read it, it makes sense why they canceled it because it was not selling well. And it's an interesting book that I will be discussing in a second. But yeah, so those are the most interesting parts of the history that you would probably need to know before you go into this. I do not recommend starting with this if you want to get into the Incredible Hulk. I recommend you read more of the 70s and 80s, or like whenever he's a side character. He's not very good as a main character in this story, but in this epic collection, in this group of issues, I think the best issue, and perhaps one of the best issues in 1960s comics, is the first issue, The Incredible Hulk issue number 1. That is when the Hulk is originally gray, which is very interesting. I know there's a history behind it and a lot of lore behind it with Stanley and Kirby and like the printing and all that. But I'm not too well versed onto it. So if you want to find out more about that, go click on another video. Well, finish this video and then click on another video discussing that. But the main story of it is the first issue. The main story is how Bruce Banner, who is a scientist, and they're testing nuclear bombs, and he is about to test a nuclear bomb, but then he sees a teenage boy in the danger area, testing zone, and that kid is Rick Jones, who becomes a lot more important in comics and Marvel Comics a lot later. He's not in the movies because I think that's a rights issue with Universal currently. So he's very important in the comics, not too important in the movies, but this is also his debut alongside Bruce Banner and Betty Ross and a bunch of other characters. I think Thunderbolt Ross also first appears in this one too, which makes sense. But when he goes in to try to save the boy from the bomb that's about to go off, it is detonated by a spoiler alert, communist scientist spy, and he gets doused with radiation, and you see how he later in the issue how he deals with becoming like this monster, going from man to monster, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation, which is terrific to see overall, and that's perhaps the overarching comic's strong points. That's like the best part of the entire comic, seeing how Bruce Banner deals with it, and how Rick Jones deals with it, and all the other characters, and Betty Ross, and all these characters, how they deal with the fact that there's this monster around. But the main problem of these issues is they can't figure out what they want to do with it, you know? Like, they have this problem where they have like this villain of the week, which in some comics it's good, don't get me wrong. Sometimes a villain of the week story is good, sometimes I like that. But here it's either not supernatural, like science fiction villain you will never hear of ever again, or communist spy scientist. That's really all it is. So it is really dragged down by that. I wish they went more into the drama of the Incredible Hulk. That would have been great, but they didn't. They went more into the Lungs of Line of Villain of the Week, which a lot of these Silver Age comics have that problem with. Not knocking it, it just doesn't work with this one, in my opinion. I still rather enjoyed it. The artwork is terrific. The first 5 issues were drawn by Jack Kirby, you know, the Jack the King Kirby. And the last issue, which you can tell quite easily, is, well, I mean, if you're a nerd into comics, is drawn by Steve Ditko, and the two have a very different takes when it comes to the Hulk, you know, because Kirby seems much more mighty, much more giant monster. Well, I mean, more a giant. While Steve Ditko, on the other hand, his drawings of the Incredible Hulk is much more monster man. You know, like this is not an appropriate thing that's happening. Like this is like a monstrosity, a tragedy. You know, but in my scale of the comic, I would recommend. I would probably put it 7 out of 10. You know, but in general audiences, I don't know, 5 out of 10, 5.5. It's not saying it's all the issues are bad. I think the first issue is the best. I think the issues with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers are pretty good later in, which I did not discuss, but we will be discussing those issues in their own separate Epic collection. But I still recommend it. You know, if you want to get into comics, you know, I don't recommend getting into this one for Hulk, but you know, it's good for the business, I guess. That's my review of the Incredible Hulk Epic Collection Volume 1. I think my next review will be of The New Frontier, and then let me know if you want any specific reviews of comics, and let me know if you want me to do reviews on movies and TV shows, you know, maybe you'll be interested in seeing that. But yeah, that's the end of my review here. All right, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, you know, maybe leave a comment, you know. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.